Would you love a miracle in your life right now? Whether that be health related or relationship related or your career or your finances. What if I told you that you could do a 180 in that area that's causing you a problem? Well, it is possible. All you have to do is believe. Hi, I'm Sherry Nichols, and I want to welcome you to The Miracle in You, a show that is dedicated to bring you hope and inspiration, bringing you real life stories from people just like you and me from all over the world who have experienced really traumatic events, really traumatic situations that were shattering, that took them to their core and made it to the other side, not only surviving, but thriving. So today, I want to bring you my miracle story, a story that took me down, shook me to my core. And it really all began with my marriage falling apart. I was in a relationship for 13 years, trying to get pregnant, uh, in the preparation stages of in vitro. When I discovered that my husband at that time was having another life with another woman, and I was devastated, really, really like the rug was pulled out from underneath me. My whole world collapsed. And I felt so ashamed and humiliated and stupid for not knowing. And I made a promise to myself that I would make it through, that I would swim like a champ, and that I would get to that other side. And I did. I invested in my growth. I invested in understanding how and why that happened. I looked at myself. I really gained a lot of insight as to how my marriage fell apart and realized that I was part of that equation, as hurtful as that was to look at. I took the responsibility of what I really needed to look at. And once I made it to the other side, I decided to change my career, to devote myself to becoming a women's empowerment coach, to help other women going through the same thing get to the other side and to know that it is possible. I realized that part of my new path in helping to heal other women was to learn how to transform the pain, transform the heartache, to really heal the heart. And so I invested in a study with a spiritual guru who was known for transformation. And I was thrilled at the opportunity to learn everything I could. The biggest part of that learning was actually transforming myself. So I started to study with a spiritual guru, and I was part of a very small group of individuals also looking for transformation. And we had spent a few years together, continuing to grow and evolve. And part of the practice was going on retreats. We often went to Sedona for our retreat. This particular time, when we were in Sedona, I was really feeling disconnected from the guru. I felt uncomfortable, and there were a lot of things that were going on that didn't sit well with me. And yet I stayed. I was frightened to leave because we had all been told that we were a spiritual family and that the only way that we would successfully transform was by doing the work together. I bought into that belief. And even though I was not having a great time at this retreat, I was feeling really, as I said, disconnected and low. And I experienced a lot of belittling and being put down, and it didn't feel good and it didn't feel right, but still I stayed. Have you ever done that? Have you ever stayed too long when you knew deep in your heart that it wasn't a good fit and that you should just move on? But you didn't, for whatever reason. You were afraid, or you didn't know what the future held, and maybe that caused more anxiety than where you were at, but you stayed. Well, that's what I did. I stayed too long. One day I was in the circle with the group after we'd gone through an experience. We would come back and we would share our experiences and our insight. What I shared and the way I shared angered the guru. And she blew up. Well, she publicly humiliated me in front of the group, and she offered them to say whatever they wanted in attack of me. And it was one of the worst experiences and moments of my life. And then I was sent off and I was told to think about things and that they would call me. Well, I left and I went to a vortex. For those of you who may not be familiar with, Sedona has a lot of vortexes, healing energy centers. And I went to this one locally close by to where our retreat center was. And it was a really, really stormy sky, freezing cold. The wind was blowing and I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop shaking. And I just felt like the most horrible person. And I looked across the sky and I saw some blue. I saw some light. And I heard this voice inside telling me, drive to the light, drive to the light. It was such an overwhelming desire to get to the light. So I got in my car and I drove. And when I got there, I prayed and I prayed, hands to the heavens, and just asked God to help me. Have you ever been in a space like that? Well, I was absolutely beside myself. I didn't know what to do. And I got back in the car and I started to drive back to the retreat center, not knowing what I was going to do. And all of a sudden, something caused me to look to the left. And this is when my miracle happened. I looked to the left, completely upset, tear-stained face, been crying now for hours. And I saw this church with a white cross in front and the words, Jesus saves. And then I looked to the right and I saw this beautiful rainbow arcing over the red rocks of Sedona, and the sunlight was coming out. And I knew in my heart, something wonderful is going to happen. It's all going to be okay. But in the meantime, when I got back to my room at the retreat, I was too upset to drive home. It was an 8-hour drive. And so I really had a very sleepless night, very upset, very anxious about everything. And on top of it, the entire group that I was with were told not to interact with me. So I was completely ostracized, and I've never felt so alone. When my marriage broke up, I was heartbroken. But when this happened to me, I felt like my soul had been broken and shattered. This was supposed to be my soul family, and they all turned on me. I felt so alone. And the next morning, I woke up and I went for breakfast. And what happened next was my miracle. I was taken under the wing of the owners of that retreat. I will never, ever forget their kindness. And they prayed with me. I invited Jesus into my heart. I invited that divine love into my heart. And these people took me under their wing. They brought me beautiful music to listen to. They brought me to their home. They just really took care of me. And in that time, by them pouring into me, by me receiving and accepting Christ into my life, within 24 hours, I had completely done a turnaround. My anxiety was gone. My soul-shattering feeling of devastation was gone. I felt peaceful. I felt whole. And I also felt compassion for the other people in my group. I no longer felt this loneliness. I felt that I literally had peace and I had happiness. And I was just completely had done a 180 from where I had been just 24 hours earlier. And why this was so important for me, this miracle, this beautiful miracle, was the understanding that came with it. I had been looking outside of myself for approval and for love, even though it wasn't a good fit, and I knew it. And I allowed myself to be treated poorly because being a part of this group, belonging, was so important to me. And The shame that I felt, the humiliation that I felt was all turned around once I allowed myself to really connect with divine love, because that is what Christ is about. Christ is about the most beautiful love you could ever imagine, beyond the scope of what we ever experience in our humanness with another human. That love that is there for you 24/7. And why it's important for me and why I want to share it with you is the understanding that when we talk about or when we hear Jesus is the way, we can get turned off by that. And you might be turned off by it right now. And I will tell you, I used to be turned off by it as well. I get what you might be thinking right now, until I came to the knowing and the understanding of what that really means. What that really means and what the implications of this are for me and how it affected my life is that I began to understand that all the things that bring our suffering are created in our mind. It's our thoughts, it's our thinking, it's the way we interpret things. It's about the perspective that we bring to any situation. But when you look at Jesus and saying Jesus is the way, what that means to me and what I want to share with you, Jesus is the way means love is the way. And when you allow love to be the way, when you allow Jesus in your heart and you allow yourself to connect with his love, you no longer suffer. Love transforms fear. You cannot have love and fear coexisting. It just can't happen. So love is the way. Love is the way. And I fought that because I grew up being very proud of being competent and capable and educated and independent, and things were my way, which was really, when I reflected on it, so controlling. And I always was on a roller coaster because it is impossible for us to control every situation. First of all, we can't control other people. And when we're looking for love outside of ourselves, we are always going to be on a roller coaster because everybody around us has their own perspective, their own experiences, and they're human as well. So if we're looking to get love from somebody else, if we're looking to feed our soul from somebody else, we are always setting ourselves up to be disappointed. So the way that we stop this disappointment, the way that we really are able to move through life in a flow, is to connect with the way of love. When you connect with that divine love, your life will get easier. Your life will get easier. It will transform you. Why is that? Because you will then gain a higher perspective. Einstein said you can never solve a problem at the level it was created, at the level of consciousness it was created. So we want to get out of where we're at, and we do that by connecting to love. And when we connect to that love, that divine love, it raises us up. And then it's like being at the top of a mountain. Suddenly your view is bigger and broader, and you have more perspective, and you can see things more easily. That's what happens when we connect with that bigger perspective of God, is we gain a more creative solution to whatever is going on in our life. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. It actually enables you to be more in control than ever. Because when you are connected to that inner divine love, I call that your diamond power, by the way. When you're connected to that and you're in that peace, that is representative of the God field that is surrounding you. So you can access that God field when you're able to connect with it from within. When you experience the love of Christ, you will feel so peaceful, so whole, that no matter what is going on around you, you will be able to radiate that wholeness and that peacefulness and that calmness and make an impact on the people around you, your loved ones, and everyone. Being in that higher consciousness of love is what is going to change this planet. And that is exactly what we need right now. If you don't already have a relationship with Christ, I am inviting you and encouraging you to invite him into your heart. Do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for the planet. Humanity is craving more love in the world right now. There's so much anger out there, there's so much fear that the collective consciousness is really spinning out with so much fear right now. And to be able to bring in that higher consciousness of love is what the world needs right now, is what is going to help to change the world, to tip it. We don't need everybody in that consciousness. We just need a percentage to make a difference. How this has really affected my life as well is that I've made this my passion. This is what my message is to the world, is to find more love, more hope, more inspiration so that we can heal. This planet needs to heal. And stepping into love is a way that we can all heal. If you would love a miracle that would heal your wounded soul, invite Christ into your life. You will be amazed. You will be amazed at how incredible you're going to feel almost instantly. Allow that love into your heart. Let go of the old stories. Just push them away. They're not real. Love is real. The stories that we've made up over the years, they're not real. Allow that to really pour into your body. Allow that love to pour in. And if you're having difficulty in really knowing how to connect with that, I've created a special video for you called Diamond Power. It's my Diamond Power meditation. This meditation will allow you to feel the truth of who you are and connect you